Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Hasifani Hashim. The topic I have choose for the final project is the study on the impact of working hours towards the performance of some physical office staff. Okay, let's start. The study focused on the impact of working hours towards the working performance of some physical office staffs. The target audience are mainly focused on the staff of some physical office in the outlet itself. Although longer working hours may seem to increase the productivity of the organization, it turns out the working performance of the employee not derived from only that factor. Thus, in this study, we will determine on how working hours can relate to the working performance of the employees. Rajan 2020 state that the working hour should be balanced, neither too long or neither too short, in order to provide employee well-being, increasing productivity, and significant work-related satisfaction. Okay, moving on to the problem statement. From the study conducted, the researcher had found that the employee will become disinterested in frequently and repeated jobs and will perform poorly at work due to the long working hours in the outlets. Secondly, the working hours will impact the employee's health and affect the well-being of the employee itself. Thirdly, due to the due to the wide range of tasks, the F&B industry's demand for the compensation to motivate the employees to perform well in the job has been given. Okay, next is the research question. The research question that the researcher had identified in the course of the study is: firstly, is the repetitive task in the outlet related to the staff working performance? Secondly, is the working hours in the outlet related to the staff working performance? Thirdly, is the working motivation in the outlet related to the staff working performance? And lastly, what is the determinant that mostly contribute the staff working performance? Next, we move to the research objective. The research objective is the finding of predicted outcome that result by conducting research. The research objectives got the whole research process including the data collecting, analysis and conclusion construction by the researcher. This is also be the guideline for the researcher into the research process by highlighting the most crucial element in the study. So in the research objective is to determine is there any relationship between the repetitive tasks in the outlet and the staff working performance. Secondly, to determine is there any relationship between working hours in the outlet and the staff working performance. Thirdly, to determine that is there any relationship between motivation in the outlets and the staff working performance. Lastly, is to identify the most determinant that most contributing to the staff working performance. Okay, next we move to the conceptual framework. Basically, the conceptual framework indicates the conceptual model of this research that allocate the relationship between the independent variables IV and the dependent variables DV. Based on this picture, the figure 1, it shows that the components that affect the working performance of the staff of San Francisco coffee outlets. To elaborate, there are three specific independent variables that we had identified, which are repetitive tasks, working hour, and working motivations. Okay, next I will proceed to the chapter 3, research methodology. Alright, for the research design, quantitative research methodologies are used in this study. And the key data for this is a questionnaire that will be given to the San coffee staff. The data will analyze to determine whether the working hour had an impact towards the working performance of the staff. Next, we move forward to the level of analysis. Each research topic has an unit of analysis. We may classify them into flowing, broad categories as a unit of analysis. The firstly is to correctly represent the aspect of individuals, group or aspect being studied. Secondly, to obtain the reliable observation on how working hours impact towards the performance of SF coffee staff in the outlet. Thirdly, is to identify the relationship between the variables involved in this study. Moving to the sampling technique. The recommended sampling approaches in this study is a convenience sampling technique. It is the sampling technique that researchers select the sample of participants based on the on what convenient for them and readily available for them. And for the measurement, due to the fact that it's easy to communicate with the respondent, the, the questionnaire was selected as a research design for the research study. The proposed questionnaire will cover the several sections, which is section A, demographic of the respondent; B, section B, repetitive task; section C, working hour; section D, working motivation; and lastly, section E, working performance. In the context of data collection, a questionnaire refers to the tool or instrument to collect specific data. The questionnaire the questionnaire will be distributed using the Google form that consists closed-ended question. A total of 46 questions in 5 parts. Section in questionnaire will be using Likert scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Moreover, after collecting questionnaire from the respondent, each 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 questionnaire was numbered to make it easier to identify and use Excel to tally the different types of category of the respondents. To make the procedure easier, we will use the SPSS, which is statistical package for social science. Then we conduct the data analysis. Alright, now I will move to the chapter 4, which explain about the findings. These findings include more discussion in the aim of the study as well as the impact of working hours toward the working performance of the staff in order to support the hypothesis made by the researcher. Based on the analysis on the demographic profile, there are total 100 respondents called for this study. From the study, most of the respondents consist of female and the remaining is a male respondents. The age of respondent is from the range of 18 to 24 years old. The most higher education of the respondent had a degree. For most of the nature of employment of the respondent is a full-time worker. Fifth, the years of service of the respondent is mostly 2 years and below. And lastly, the data shown that the majority of respondents were working in the outlets located in the Klang Valley, while the remaining were working outside the Klang Valley. Okay, moving to the reliability test result. According to the findings, Frobert's alpha value for the three independent variables, which is repetitive task, working hour, and working motivations, is 0.825, 0.737, and 0.926 respectively. The value of dependent variable, which is working performance, is 0.948. Ac- According to Palin 2001, states that alpha from batch value above 0.6 is considered high reliability and acceptable index, whereas the value of the value below 0.6 is considered low. Alpha from batch value in the range of 0.6 and 0 to 0.8 are considered moderate but acceptable, while alpha from batch in the range of 0.8 to 1.0 is considered very good. In the end, all the variables in all the indicate variable fulfill the Cronbach's alpha value. Therefore, the test is considered successful and dependable. Alright, for the main findings, so to match for the objective of the study, the Pearson correlation are deployed in this study. The Pearson product moment correlation analysis can be defined as the analysis made on the relationship between two variables within linear fashion. Cox, 2013. In this study, the researcher will determine on how the correlation of the two variables able to show the direction, the strength, and the significance in the study conducted. Based on the study conducted, There is a significant relationship between the repetitive task and the working performance. According to the correlation test that has been conducted, it proved a positive relationship between these two variables. In order to determine the strength of the two variables, it can be referred to the coefficient of R 0.258, which is indicate the weak relation, but with high significance at P, p-value is below than 0.05. So the H1 is accepted. Secondly, based on the study conducted too, there is a significant relationship between the working hour and the working performance. According to the correlation test too, it proved a positive relationship between these two variables. In order to determine the strength of the two variables, it can be referred to the coefficient of R is 0.305, which indicate the weak relationship too, but with high significance with p-value is below than 0.05. So the working hour, which is the hypothesis, H1 is accepted. Okay, lastly, from the table shown, the correlation on the variables between the working motivation in the outlet and the staff working performance. It is shown that table it is a significant relationship between working motivation and the working performance because the significant value must be less than 0.05. Furthermore, as the working motivation increase, the working performance staff in the outlet will increase. It also proved the positive relationship between these two variables in this study. The coefficient of R 0.565 that used to determine the strength of this variable shows that the moderate relationship with high significance with p-value must be less than 0.05. Thus, the relationship is positive between the working motivation in the outlet and the staff working performance. The R value is 0.565 and the p-value must be is less than 0.05. So, the H1 is accepted. Next, I will move to the summary of the findings. In conclusion, the discussion and interpretation of the findings eventually reflect in the research objective and the hypothesis in the study. From the findings, the researcher had determined the findings by doing the reliability test and also the Pearson correlation test. All the independent variables, the repetitive task, working hour, and working motivation, all had significant relationship with the dependent variable, the working performance. But the repetitive task and the working hour had a weak correlation. Only the third variable, working motivation, had a moderate correlation with the working performance. It indicates that working motivation had a strong influence towards the work performance instead of other two variables. The weak relationship between repetitive tasks and working hours towards the working performance may result by the mixed opinion of the respondent and also insufficient numbers of respondents needed in this study. Limitations of the study. First, during the research being conducted, reaching the right respondent that had some knowledge or have some ideas on what of this research is all about and why the research is conducted. Secondly, the limitation is getting the feedback from the staff in the outlet or respondent is difficult to get by the researcher due to the poor response from the respondent itself. Thirdly, the practice of flexible working hours, good rotation of shift between the staff, the diversity of working environment and nature of work are also encouragement or appreciation of to the staff as motivation bank often been overlooked issues by the top management or managers. Fourthly, the research design that requires input data to be collected once at the same time. In other words, the data must be complete within a time frame. Okay, the recommendations. First, improving the nature of repetitive tasks. To deal with this situation, few suggestions could be helping hand to minimize the effects of the repetitive work in the organization. One of the suggestions is to set up the workstation appropriately. In this case, setting up appropriate works appropriate workstation for the employee can reduce the excessive effort required to perform the task given, consequently minimize fatigue and the occurrence of repetitive motion disorder. Secondly, applying the flexible working hours to boost productivity. Applying the flexible schedule or flexible working hours frequently improve the organization, the ability to attract, keep and also motivate the experienced employees to increase their performance and productivity. In addition, it also broadens the diversity and inclusiveness in the workplace. Providing such option by the organization could save the overhead costs, increasing performance, lowering the level of work boredom and absenteeism, and allow the organization to run smoothly. Thirdly, working motivation as the way to stimulate performance. The organization could provide the recognition and rewards to the employees for their accomplishment, effort and hard work and behaviors. Rewarding the employees for their hard work and effort at the same time celebrating employees' progress is a way to tell them that their contribution had a meaningful impact to organization. Not only that, this can help them to connect the link between daily tasks and the mission, objective and goal of the organization. Such appreciation by the organization show on the much how much the important employees to the organization success. The conclusions. In conclusions, the researcher had concluded that working hours had a significant impact towards the performance of the San Francisco coffee staffs. It is important for the staff to balance their well-being, life and health with the working hours in the outlets. The researcher conduct the research conduct had proven the repetitive tasks, the working hour and the working motivation had a relationship towards the employee performance and had an impact to the productivity of the organizations. Last but not least, in this study is to add to the body of knowledge of the impacts of working hour and the and its component towards the performance of San Francisco coffee staff in their respective outlets. In addition, we had on we had adding the suggestion on how to improve the performance in the study. That's all from me. Thank you.